Hi, ladies. Happy Thursday. Today, we are going to get together and talk about how to overcome your dating fears. And even beyond that, how to overcome your relationship fears. I mean, fears are a really powerful thing, real or imagined. They can take you out of the game. And so let's just address the fears head on because let's talk about the imagined fears. Your mind creates all these fears to keep you safe so that you won't step out of your comfort zone and take emotional risks. But that's exactly what you need to do in order to be in a committed, healthy, functional relationship. And so let's talk about fear. False evidence appearing real. I know you've all heard of that. You've heard it on the internet and people say it, but it is a true statement. False evidence appearing real. So evidence meaning that something that's happening, you've been hurt in the past. You have evidence that a relationship could bring you pain. And so it's easy to get stuck in that fear, especially if you've been hurt before. Hi, Annette. So nice to see you. Aloha. And so, but a lot of times it is just false evidence. So your mind will pull up your relationship files as soon as you go to get into a relationship or you start dating, and it's going to present you with all the information that you've collected, your mind's collected over the years. And a lot of that is painful experiences. And that's why you're watching these broadcasts, because maybe they're not painful experiences, but maybe it's just you haven't got what you want out of life in terms of relationships. So you're continuing the pursuit of what it is you want. And in that process, your mind will throw up a bunch of limiting beliefs and obstacles in an attempt to keep you safe. But what ends up happening is the very things that are keeping you safe, those walls and defenses, are actually keeping the love that you want out. So it's time to dismantle the fears. Fear is something that is made up in your mind, and love is what you are. You are naturally love. And so it's really connecting to making the distinction between something that's you're afraid of and what's really going on. You have to learn to discern between what's sourcing in the now that's really something to be afraid of, or what's being stimulated in the now, but it's being sourcing from the past. And that's really typical of what happens. So I'm going to say that again because it's really an important statement. What happens when you start to date, the fear comes from things that are going to get stimulated in the now, like going on a date, the fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of intimacy, fear of losing freedom will all get stimulated in the now, but these fears are sourcing from the past. They're coming from a time when you did feel abandoned. Maybe you were abandoned. Maybe you have abandonment issues from your childhood. So that would show up in a relationship. As soon as you start to date, you might be afraid to be intimate because you don't want to get hurt because you might get abandoned. So they're all connected. And I think the biggest fear that everyone has, men and women, is the fear of rejection. The fear of rejection is probably the most powerful because it's linked to approval. It's linked to a core approval issue. And so approval issues come from our childhood. We start seeking approval externally the minute that we're born. The minute we're born, we're looking for our caretakers to approve of us, to give us love, to feed us. We depend on them for our very survival. So we learn right away that our approval is externally sourced. Now, fast forward to the now, that doesn't really serve us because we can't depend on other people to fill our emotional cup. And every time we do, it backfires. So the fear of rejection comes from a place of thinking that if he rejects me, then I'm not going to get the love and acceptance and that I deserve and desire. And then it might trigger that I'm not good enough. And so we have to be really careful to become more discerning on where these fears are really sourcing from. Again, they're typically stimulated in the now by dates, when you're just starting to date, or if you like somebody, but the fears are sourcing from your past and they're trying to sabotage you based on your history. And it's easy to get stuck in those storylines about your past thinking and past history. And so healing accompanies awareness. Just having awareness that you're going to experience a certain amount of fear. It's normal to feel afraid of something new. Beginnings are scary and endings can be sad. And so beginnings can also be exciting. So look at that fear as, this is exciting. It's a new adventure. I'm definitely having to step out of my comfort zone and really check in with your acceptance, because a lot of that fear of rejection comes from not really accepting yourself. And because you're thinking, is he going to reject me? Is he going to like me? Am I going to do something embarrassing on my date? Am I going to get scrutinized? That's a big one, right? Is he going to scrutinize me and judge me? And yes, we are getting scrutinized, and we feel that from the minute you launch an online dating profile, or if you meet somebody at the grocery store or at Starbucks, you're starting to get scrutinized by him, and you're scrutinizing him too. And so it triggers a little bit of fear, like, is he going to see me? And then that leads me into that fear of intimacy. Is he going to see me? And what if he does see me and he doesn't like what he sees? And that's why a lot of women have a fear of intimacy. Intimacy is into me, I see. We don't want somebody to see into us. And I could really relate to this because I had a lot of shame and a lot of shame from my past abuse. So I, of course, when I was younger, I blamed myself. Like it was my fault. But it wasn't my fault. It was not my fault. And once I did the healing around that, I didn't have any the shame. But sometimes what can happen, it can trigger shame because you don't want somebody to see that you're really not good enough, or you're not worthy, or not lovable, because something happened to you in another relationship or in your life where you really were hurt, and you really felt ashamed of maybe how you conducted yourself, or what happened to you, and you blame yourself. And so that would explain a fear of intimacy. And so I just want to give value to those of you who are here, and thank you for showing up. I love that you're here. And I would like to start with helping you to overcome these fears by validating them. So giving value to fear. And what I mean by that is that you give value to your feelings. I'm not saying that their fear is good, bad, wrong, or right, or that you should focus on it, but you should acknowledge that it's there. And it's healthy to say, I'm afraid. I'm feeling some fear. Oh, a whole bunch of fear is coming up for me right now because I have to meet somebody new and I feel like I'm going to be scrutinized. So just show up as your own best friend is the best advice I can give you. Be there for yourself when you're feeling fear. Don't avoid the fear and push it down. That just causes anxiety. So what you want to do is just look the fear straight on and ask yourself, what am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? That will start to dispel the fear because you start to release the pressure that builds up around the fear. What am I afraid of? I'm afraid of being hurt. Okay, great. You just came up with what you're afraid of. What? Okay, so then you give yourself self-talk around that. I'm afraid of being hurt. Well, I have to take emotional risks in order to have emotional gain. So I recognize that as an empowered woman, that this is a part of the process. So you can self-talk yourself through that. I call it self-parenting. So you self-parent yourself through the fears. What else am I afraid of? I'm afraid of abandonment. Well, if I don't face my fears, then I'm the one who's abandoning myself in this moment. So self-abandonment is a big part of the dating, is a big part of what you may be doing when you're going to get into the dating process or in a relationship. It's an avoidance pattern. You've been abandoned in the past, so you abandon yourself because you want to avoid thinking about it because it was so painful. But you don't realize that you're abandoning yourself, so you're actually perpetuating the very thing that was done to you. You keep doing it to yourself by reliving it over and over and over and over. So the way you can stop and get off that crazy train is to acknowledge that you have the capacity, the tools, and the power now as an adult to have healthy boundaries, to vote with your feet when a situation is less than perfect, is not a situation you want to continue. You can call somebody. So you have all these powers, right? You can take action. You don't have to stay frozen. So you can work through those fears. And you're the one who's in control of your happiness, right? You're the one who gets to decide the level that you want to experience your life. And certainly fears are definitely something that you have to learn to navigate much more quickly. And so sometimes our mind throws up fears because we don't see a solution in the problem that's presenting itself. So fear can take us out because we just don't have the solution. But there's always 3 solutions to every problem. So I want you to write that down. That's really going to help you. 3 solutions to every problem. So look at the problem and go, okay, what are my top 3 solutions to this problem? Write them down and then just pick one and then go from there, because there's no real mistakes, because even in that choice, you'll have another set of solutions to the problem that you can pick again until you really feel like you're on track. But failing not to choose is still a choice. So that's why you have to move through this fear and get to the other side. Typically, like I said in the beginning, it's false evidence appearing real. It's not even real, it's imagined, because your mind's trying to keep you safe from some projected painful outcome. But we can't live in fear, because if we do, then we won't be able to trust, we won't be able to have intimacy, and we will always be doubting the person that we're sitting across from. So the real person that you need to trust is you. You need to trust that you're going to be okay, that you're going to take care of you no matter what. And as long as you don't abandon yourself in this process, you're going to be able to walk through it with much more mastery, more grace and ease than ever before. So give yourself permission to feel the fear and then release it. Ask yourself, what am I feeling? Identify what you're feeling, walk through that and see what it's anchored to. I always tell you, anchor it to that. Okay, I'm feeling fear because I was hurt before. Okay, but this isn't happening now. This is a whole new situation. So you have to connect with you and talk to yourself. Thanks for all the likes. I love that. On Facebook, I'm getting all these likes. So that's a process, lady, a practical process. What am I afraid of? Okay, identify what you're afraid of. Ask yourself this question. Become intimate with yourself in that moment. What is it anchored to? Tie it back to something that happened in the past and see it for what it is. False evidence appearing real. That happened to me a decade ago. I'm not going to allow what happened 10 years ago or even last week take me out, because now I learned from that lesson and now I'm not going to make that choice again. Not mistake. They're choices. Don't say mistakes, because nothing is a mistake unless you keep repeating it. So say it's a lesson. Learn the lesson and move on to the next lesson. Life is a series of self-help obstacles, and you just have to get better at overcoming the obstacles. And you will if you put yourself out there and take more emotional risks and show up with more emotional courage, and you look fear in the face and see it for what it is, false evidence appearing real. And so just get more intimate with your fear. And it's so amazing how you can sit there in that fear for a few minutes and just go, wow, I cannot believe. Like, it's a physical manifestation that can run through your body. You can break out in a sweat, you can have a sick stomach. All of those are indications that your mind's in overdrive, pulling up all those file folders, sending you false alarms. It's saying, fire, fire, run. But guess what? There's no fire. It's just a false alarm. So you have to get good at making the distinction between what's happening in the now or is it sourcing from the past? So I hope that's helpful to you. I have a question coming in on Facebook I'm going to answer. How do I know I've gone through the fear and able to make correct decisions, solutions? Let me look and see more there. How do I know I've gone through the fear and I'm able to make correct decisions and solutions? So that's a great question. How do I know? And so you know by how you feel. So your feelings are your guidance system. And so you always want to check in how you feel. If you're feeling fear, you want to ask yourself, go through the process I just talked about, Annette. And then once you get to the other side, you'll have relief because you'll feel better. So feeling and releasing your feelings is going to make you feel better faster. Thinking about your feelings is going to make them grow bigger and have them expand. So I would base everything on how you feel. How you feel is the most important thing. How you feel, make that the priority, because when you feel good, life is flowing towards you. When you don't feel good, you need to get really curious on why don't I feel good? And then drill into that. Because when we speak in terms of manifesting, feeling good is the indicator that you're on track. When you're not feeling good, that means you're having some kind of resistance to whatever's happening, resistance to change, to shift, or resistance to trying a new idea. So I hope that helps. Yeah, I hope that helps. And let me take a question from YouTube. Fear of the unknown. That's a big one. Thank you. Fear of the unknown. The truth is that that's probably one of the biggest ones. Is the unknown is actually, I have this tickle on my nose. Sorry, ladies. Okay. The fear of the unknown. I'm so glad you brought that up. The unknown is where all the magic happens in life. And it was so wonderful in my life when I was able to transition from fear-based thinking into love-based thinking and starting to partner with the unknown. The unknown is where your man is. The unknown is where the magic is. The unknown is where the money is, the abundance. Everything you want in life is the unknown. The knowns are what you've already experienced, and there's no evolution in that. And that's why it's so exciting when you start to partner with the unknown. The known is just your projection of some projected outcome that you don't even know it's going to happen. You don't have a crystal ball. When you attach yourself to outcomes, you've heard me talk about this a lot. You glue yourself to an outcome and you miss out on all the other opportunities that might be presenting themselves because you're fixated on one outcome. That means you're attached to an outcome. And you have to step back into the detached involvement where you're detached from an outcome. So you're open to all outcomes, like everything that's possible. You now have infinite possibilities in front of you because you're observing everything instead of getting stuck on an outcome. So I can't overemphasize how powerful it is to partner with the unknown, partner with innate intelligence, partner with your intuition, and get out of those emotional blocks and the fear-based thinking that are blocking you from having everything you want. The fear-based thinking and resistance is between you and your loved one. He's there waiting for you. But as long as you have that filter, you'll never really see him. You can date a million men and go, there's no great men out there, but guess what? They're great men out there, but you're looking at them through that outcome. And no one's going to live up to that outcome because you don't have a crystal ball. You cannot predict it. So you have to stay open and going with the flow and detached involvement where you're involved, but you're detached from how it shows up, how it happens. So let me take another question. I messed up on the first date. What can I say or do to make up for it? I dated a friend of his first, and he and I think now compares himself to him. So you dated a friend of his first. That's a tough one. I'm just thinking about what Michael would say. I'm sorry. So I think when men are very territorial, and I think that if you weren't physical, then it's possible that you can move forward. If you were physical, men are pretty territorial, just like women, not territorial, but I don't even know if that's the right word. It's just that nobody likes to go out with somebody else who's been with somebody else. So there's a little bit of an overlap, and men don't forget that. And so what can you do? I would just get really honest with him and just say, I really enjoyed meeting you and I had a great time. And I feel that because I dated your friend, that could be an obstacle going forward. How do you feel about that? And just ask him very directly. Men like it when you're direct. And ask it with a feather. Just say, I had such a good time and I can't help but wondering how you feel about the fact that I went out with your friend once. Is that an issue for you? And if so, I would love to hear about that. Are you open to discussing it with me? You can even say it in a text. Are you open to discussing it with me? You're just asking a question. He'll find the answer out. Don't be afraid to ask the questions because even if it's not what you want to hear, it can move you forward. Okay, that's why we have to be more intimate with our conversation. They give us information about what to do next or what not to do. And so, hi, Lynn. Hi, Robin. Yes, embracing the unknown and all the magic that lies there. And let me answer another question. When Michael was coming from fear, when he was evasive regarding your future, why did you approach it from what is your vision for us instead of what are you afraid of? I'm in a similar situation. Well, I knew what he was afraid of. I knew what he was afraid of. I knew he was afraid of commitment. I knew he was afraid of getting hurt. He'd already been hurt. Most people are afraid of getting hurt, and that's why they hold back before their commitment. They're also afraid of losing their freedom. And they're also afraid of men might be afraid that you won't be physically intimate with them as much as they want to be. Men have their reasons why they have fears: loss of freedom, loss of sexuality, especially when we're over 50. Men, after being married for maybe a couple decades, want to make sure that they still got it going on. And they want a woman who's, it's a possible. I'm just saying this is a possibility. Not all men, but one possibility. So So why did you approach it from what is your vision for us? Because I wasn't focused on his fear. I was focused on the vision. So this is another good point. Don't look at what's happening in the now. Look at where you want to go. If you want to be a visionary, you focus on where you want to go, not at what's happening in the now, because that keeps you glued to the now. The now may not be what you want. Today may not be your best day, right? But don't dwell on it. Just focus on what's going to happen tomorrow and how exciting it can be and how you get a fresh start and everything's new. And you get a reset every day. You get to wake up with the same amount of hours we all get. You get to start over. And so a lot of people get stuck on what's happening in the now instead of looking at their bigger picture, the 10,000 foot view. So I was just looking at the bigger picture. Let me see what else. 3 solutions to every problem. You're welcome, ladies. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, that would be great if you subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook page. And if feeling generous, you can give me a review on Facebook. And all of this is what I teach in a much deeper, more intimate, more supportive setting in my Engaged in Any Age program. And you're invited to book a discovery call with me to see if that is something that is a fit for you. Now, if you're wanting to attract your soulmate this year, I would say that it is a fit for you. So if you're ready to do the work around your, overcoming your limiting beliefs and being able to cultivate this feminine energy that I show up on in these calls and having the level of communication skills that I demonstrate and model for you, then I'm your coach, because that is exactly what you'll learn to embody in the program. And it'll last you a lifetime. It's really not just about getting a man. It's about making these changes so that you can have a bigger life. You can embrace the fears and see them for what they are. And you can go further in life when you're not stuck in that fear-based thinking, that victim thinking, when you have more tools in your toolbox. And that's what I give you, a bunch of practical tools that you can apply really quickly that will move you forward very effectively. And so it's all about self-empowerment. That's what I teach, is self-empowerment. The application of everything you've already learned, right? That's the missing piece, is how do we apply all this stuff that I'm talking about, right? So the practical application today is, what am I feeling? Fear. What am I afraid of? Okay, I'm afraid of getting hurt. What is that anchored to? Send yourself some love around that painful experience you had and remind yourself that it's not happening now. This is a completely different situation. You're completely different, and give yourself the benefit of the doubt. Be your own best friend and take that step to face that fear and move forward anyway, and be more courageous. Be more emotionally courageous. Take bigger risks. The bigger the risk, the bigger the gain. And make sure you have boundaries around that. I'm not just saying have a free-for-all, but have a healthy boundary for yourself. And always check in with how you're feeling. Your feelings are your guidance system. If it feels good, move forward. If it doesn't feel good, ask yourself, what am I feeling? It all comes down to being more intimate and doing more self-inquiry and doing that on a regular basis, so you know you better than anybody else. And that is the best advice I can give you today. You know you. Be intimate with yourself, and then you'll know why you feel what you feel, and you won't be so stuck in these emotional ruts if you are on the fears and dating over 50, dating under 50. I mean, fear-based thinking is definitely going to keep you stuck at any age, and I want you to move forward quickly. The faster and more momentum you build, the sooner you can meet your soulmate and get off the dating treadmill. Okay, ladies, thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Sending you lots of love. I'm so glad that you're all here. I'll talk to you all next week. If you're on my database, I'll be sending you out an email about my my schedule when I'm going to do the live videos for you to support you. Okay, ladies, have a beautiful rest of your evening and stay warm. Brr, it's cold, isn't it? It's cold. It was freezing today in La Jolla. And I love you all. Oh, love you too, Connie. Love all of you so much. Really mean that. I really want to see you all happy and love, settled down, and having relationships that last a lifetime. And that's what I expect to have with Michael, and that's what I can teach you how to have. We're going on 7 years, and it's been a wonderful experience, and we're still going strong. So that's what I want to share with you, how to have that experience. All right, ladies, sending you lots of love. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.